alongside four really good high school football coaches, talking about Ron Crawford at Brentwood, talking about Rodney Salisbury at Whitehaven, Tony Lambert of Oneida, and Tommy McDaniel of Christian Brothers. Guys, you all got to listen to Coach Josh Heupel tonight with the TFCA, clinic on Zoom. Overall impressions, Tommy, we'll start with you. You being the president of the TFCA.
Yeah. First of all, I was very excited to get Josh committed to the series. It's just kind of something that happened naturally a few weeks ago. This made me realize that we're in a period right now with the pandemic and all the Zoom calls where it just opens up a new set of opportunities for you. And so I threw that out. The guy was like, yeah, it's a great idea. I reached out to Heupel, I reached out to Silverfield, and reached out to Clark, and everybody was on board immediately. So, just like I said, it just kind of happened naturally in the span of a couple of days. And we really didn't have an agenda. Josh and the main person of contact that I've been talking to, Brandon Lawson, really, wanted some guidance. My main guidance was, I'm giving you a 45-minute platform to address the high school coaches in the state of Tennessee, talk about whatever you want to talk about. And since they haven't had that opportunity, and obviously spring practices are going to be, closed, it was just good to obviously just be able to see him talk about his vision. Like I said, it was only 45 minutes. There's only so much you can do. And obviously these platforms are not as personal as you want them to be, but I had a really good feeling, from Josh's talk. And I think, I think he understands the climb he has going forward and the challenges that are ahead, but he seems to be really excited about it.
Ron, obviously, Coach Heupel comes in. He's different than Coach Pruitt in certain ways. But I asked him in the introductory press conference. Everybody's got up here and talked about building the wall or building the fence or building the moat or whatever around the state. I think that's a bit unrealistic because the state's gotten so big. It's got so many players that you can't get them all. But you've got to get your fair share, and you got to make it a priority. It sure feels like that this staff's going to do that, doesn't it?
I think one of the things he talked about tonight, Austin, was, one of the major themes of one of his major visions, one of his major, core values is built upon relationships. Relationships within his staff, obviously staff to staff members, within his current team. And he went into and talking about, his staff and himself and the relationship that they can have with high school coaches. And building that and understanding that they have to do that now, that they're new to this place. So I think that when he mentioned relationships, and he showed tonight how much his program moving forward are going to value relationships. I think that, we have to take him at his word. He asked us to do that tonight, and he said that his actions would indeed make his words true. So I thought, that's the best way to answer your question. Was he talked first and foremost about developing great relationships. That's what we do, all of us in our programs, and in particular, as big as that is, I think it's vital with all the recent changes up there.
Ronnie, you've got multiple kids that play right now for Tennessee. Whitehaven's always got kind of top end talent, and there's always going to be guys that are getting recruited to that kind of level. Is that something that you noticed, to echo what Coach Crawford was talking about? Because I know you all are so big on family at Whitehaven. Coach Heupel seems like he's big on that, having the wives and kids constantly in the building, having fun, constantly trying to make sure that hey, we're going to try to score touchdowns, we're going to try to win games, but I want you guys to have fun while we're doing it, and it's just not just a grind where no one loves you up.
Yeah, and that's a really big piece. And I guess one of the best things I can say is that I got 4 boys up there right now and hadn't gotten any complaints. So that's a big impression to me. If a new staff that comes in, obviously that's not the staff that recruited you there. They're coming in and their impression, the guys seem to be happy. And that's the biggest selling point that he'll have is the guys that are still there are enjoying the first interactions with the staff that he has there. Obviously, he doesn't have a full staff yet, but the guys that have been there so far and the interactions with him have been positive. So that would be the greatest testament. So he spoke to it again when he called me on the phone, when he got the job, and when we talked. It's personable. Again, I had the luxury of knowing him beforehand, knowing when he was at Oklahoma and at Missouri. But it was just great to just hear his values of family, and that's a really good thing moving forward.
Tony, you've got a punter going there, Colby Morgan, who's a good little athlete for you. Just kind of knowing the guy you're kind of sending one of your kids off to play for. How much is that, a bonus to kind of get to hear him for 45 minutes, as Tommy talked about, and see, hey, who this guy kind of is and what he's all about?
First of all, I mean, he's a coach's son, and he can certainly relate with coaches. Talked about his dad starting out as a high school coach in his hometown and moving on to the college ranks. But, I think the biggest thing is to reiterate what Coach Crawford said. He wanted to make sure that we knew that he was big in the relationship area. And I think the biggest problem we've had with relationship in the past has been maybe a breakdown in communication. And, whether it's on our end or their end, Coach Heupel was so gracious when Tommy called him and asked him to participate in this. I mean, he hit the ground running and, reached out to us. And to have a kid go there, if we have a kid go from our school to Tennessee, he's going to wear the same colors every year he's ever played high school football. And so, the product that they have over there is certainly special to these kids. They grow up going and, in proximity, being able to watch the games and having a guy that's got so much electricity and energy. I all got an old saying, you can't fake passion. And I sense that from Coach Heupel. I've seen it in his dodgeball game. I sense it in his conversation with us. He was very detail oriented. He said one thing that really stuck out in my mind is he said, evaluate what matters. And it's not such little things that might be distractors, but it's the things that can help you win on Saturday. And I think that's the biggest thing that looking at it from a high school coach, sending my kids somewhere to have an opportunity on a big stage to maybe play, knowing that you got a guy that believes that you ought to compete in every facet, everything. He said everything will be recorded and tracked, especially the things that matter. And what more can you ask for? I mean, I'm excited. He's our coach. We ought to get behind him, and whatever him and our new AD and Coach White says, we ought to be all about it.
I think too, Austin, kind of piggyback off of Tony, one of the things that resonated with me, I think we all can agree there's different styles of coaches and they all work. I mean, it just depends on the staffs and there's a lot of factors that we know that go into the winning. But I think Josh brings a certain mentality. He's not a super young guy, but he's young enough where I feel like he understands. It seemed like he's focusing, he's majoring in the majors, and there's a lot of things that aren't going to throw him into a tailspin. I know it's simple stuff to us, but you need to be disciplined in your academics. You need to be disciplined about your preparation and the time commitment and accountability. But, you want to have a certain hairstyle or you want to wear a certain type of jewelry. If it doesn't impact the way that you're performing or you're preparing, and a lot of people don't see it as being an issue. And so I thought that was a great point because, again, number one thing, you better be capturing their mind and their hearts. If you don't do that, the rest of it's not going to matter.
From what I've been told, he's a big morning practice guy. So having covered a team back in 2012 that did morning practices, sign me up for that. Because I do think that, kids, when they're, they go and they sit in the classroom all day, guys, and then all of a sudden they're tasked with trying to go to the meeting room before practice and their mind is a mush from having went through all this type of stuff with academics. It's hard to keep their attention. So I don't know how you guys feel, but I think the morning practices potentially in the fall could really help a group of kids that, for the last year have been, kind of beat down with COVID, with the constant testing, with everything that's been around this football program. It seems like just subtle changes. I know Tony mentioned the dodgeball, the Zoom, stuff, with just everybody, I think, potentially could get this program, going in a different direction mentally, which I think is part of it, right, Coach Salisbury?
Yeah, that's a big piece. Is again enjoying what you do, and I think all of us, if you're enjoying what you do, you're never working. You're having fun and you're putting all your effort into it. So what Thomas said is just buying in, getting the kids' hearts and minds bought into being involved and those things. I said those core values and those principles. If they can buy into that, they begin to gel together as a team. I know that dodgeball games, things of that nature, some people might think that's quirky, but for kids, it's them having fun, them enjoying spending time with each other. Because if I love being around my teammates, I'm going to play harder for them. So I think it's very good. I think they watch the Super Bowl in the stadium. Just different things like that are just things that can give you a winning edge just because of the buy-in you get as a group and the team atmosphere.
Coach Crawford, you're a coach that had his team go all the way to the state title game this past year, had really good team chemistry. How important is that? I mean, every year is different. And just because you were good one year doesn't mean you're going to be good the next, because the leaders and a lot of times change. So to see the team building, early on, how important do you feel like that is, not just for Tennessee, but just athletes in general?
I think that it doesn't matter whether you're at Tennessee or you're at Christian Brothers or Whitehaven or Oneida. I mean, the one common deal, man, is being able to connect with kids. The one common deal is each year is different, like you just said, but kids understand that you care about them. You're going to invest in them. You speak to them each and every day when you walk down the hall, and you correct them at practice, making sure at the end of the day they understand that was football. Now it's not football anymore. So being involved in their life outside of the football, I think that's one of the big parts of us as head football coaches, wanting a lot of men in our buildings so that our students can see them in a different light other than just a football coach. See them as teachers and just human beings and fathers. You mentioned, I think somebody mentioned the coaches bringing his kids around and wife around. So I think, being able to be you and see the real you. But the biggest thing is just them understanding that you do care about them. It's more than a position. It's more than this and that. And we're in a tough place. And I know Rodney's been through it probably worse than any of us with this pandemic. But, kids are in a tough spot right now with not feeling as connected to each other as they usually are. We're in such a Zoom world now. And we're not around each other as much. I think you see it on kids. You see it in their faces. And just when we start, every time we get back together, man, they're just so happy to be together. So I think just, making kids understand you do care about them and their future and what's going on in their lives. If you can get their heart, man, you're going to get a lot of effort out of them. You got good players, you'll win some games. If you don't, you won't. But the biggest thing is making an impression that hopefully will last them a lifetime.
Yeah. There's 5 of us on this call, and 2 of us are still shaving. The other 3 have COVID beards. So you're right. The whole world's changed. Tony, last thing we'll talk about with you guys is going to be the offense. I know he talked about, throwing it around, kind of going up tempo and going fast. What was your takeaways from listening to him talk about kind of his offensive philosophy?
Well, the first thing is, if you go and watch his offense play, if you blink, you're probably going to miss a play or two. And I certainly think that, he put – a lot of people can talk it. A lot of people can talk speed, but the statistics don't lie. The video don't lie. The numbers don't lie. He's got the proof in the pudding that where statistically he's shown where his teams have snapped the ball more than everybody. They've gained more yards. They've scored. And, ultimately all that's good and fine and dandy. But one stat that I like is that number 9 team, or that number 9 ranking in the most wins. I think it was in the last couple of years. So, offense and winning games, that's what I think our people are looking for. I mean, everybody wants to see the ball thrown around. They want that. But he still talked about running the football, talked about getting the ball vertical in the run game and the pass game. And like we were talking about prior to going live on this Zoom here, you still got to be able to run that football. but the operation that he explained to us how they would get the ball to certain officials and in proximity where they were when the play was over was pretty impressive. It's a science, it's an artwork, and I'm very excited about seeing it.
Any other thoughts from the other three guys?
I think just to piggyback on Tony, one thing that that I appreciate from Josh right now is I think it'd be easy to panic getting in there late. I think he's been very patient about his recruiting strategy. I think he's been very patient with his hiring process from what I've seen. And I think when you look at, again, like Tony said, his offensive statistics, they speak for themselves. Everywhere he's been, they've been successful. But I also think he realizes, I think he's a football coach. And all these guys are not always really football guys. I think he's a football junkie. And I think he recognizes that from a defensive perspective, he better bring somebody in that's excellent on that side of the ball, because as he talked about, their first set of downs, he needs to get a first down to get the momentum. And they have a certain operation that they want to kind of go with. And if you're not getting that initial first down and you get a quick 3 and out, then we all know you're punting and giving it back quickly and you're putting your defense on the field. So again, it makes me think a little bit about how, careful he's been about his hiring process and especially forming his defensive staff, which I think is a credit to his experience and understanding. You got to make them fit together in the team deal. And, I'm anxious to see what he does with it.
Well, guys, we appreciate the time. Coach Crawford, you've got Walker Merrill at Tennessee. Coach Salisbury, you've got 4 guys on the Tennessee roster. Tony, you're about to have Colby Morgan. Tommy, you're the odd man out. But, of course, the Vols do have 2 guys on your squad that they're currently recruiting, being Dallin Hayden and Patrick Kudas. So maybe the next time we talk, everybody will have somebody at Tennessee.
I think Walker's team won the dodgeball, Rodney, so I think he's already made an impression.
Hey, they looked like they were having fun. That's all I was enjoying. Well, as long as the boys are happy and enjoying the experience, we're grateful for it. It's a great opportunity. We're looking forward to the next few years in the Heupel regime.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for the time.